how high-status people win without seeking. Strange paradox exists at the top of every hierarchy. The people desperate for attention rarely keep it, and the people who seem least interested in attention often attract the most influence. Look closely at any room. One person is talking louder than everyone else, trying to be noticed, trying to be remembered, trying to convince others of their importance. Meanwhile, someone else sits quietly, speaks only when necessary, and somehow leaves with more respect than anyone in the room. Why? Because status is not created by attention. In many cases, status determines attention, and the individuals who understand this distinction play a completely different game, one most people don't even realize exists. Most people spend their lives chasing attention. They want to be noticed, recognized, violated, remembered. Social media has only intensified this instinct. Every platform encourages visibility, more views, more followers, more engagement, more eyes. Over time, many people begin believing that attention and status are the same thing. But they are not. In fact, some of the highest status individuals operate according to the exact opposite principle. They understand that attention is often a consequence of status, not the source of it. This distinction changes everything. Think about how people behave when they desperately want approval. They speak more than necessary. They constantly explain themselves. They force opinions into conversations. They seek opportunities to display their achievements. Every interaction becomes an attempt to increase visibility. The intention is understandable. They want recognition, but the behavior often creates the opposite effect, because the pursuit of attention quietly communicates something: need, and need is difficult to hide. The moment people sense that someone requires validation from others, the person's perceived status often decreases, not because validation is inherently bad, but because dependence reduces perceived power. High-status individuals tend to operate differently. Instead of trying to capture attention, they focus on creating value. Instead of demanding recognition, they allow recognition to emerge naturally. This creates an entirely different social dynamic. People become curious about them, and curiosity is often more powerful than visibility. One reason is psychological. Human beings place greater value on things that appear scarce. Scarcity creates interest. Abundance creates familiarity. When someone constantly seeks attention, they become predictable. Their behavior follows a pattern. The room knows exactly what they want: attention, approval, recognition. But when someone is selective with their words, selective with their presence, and selective with their energy, people begin paying closer attention. Not because attention was demanded, because interest was created. This principle appears repeatedly among influential individuals. Notice how truly respected people rarely seem desperate to be heard. They are comfortable allowing others to speak, comfortable allowing silence to exist, comfortable not being the center of every conversation. This behavior signals something important. It signals abundance. Abundance of confidence, abundance of self-worth, abundance of certainty. They do not need constant reminders of their value because they have already accepted it internally. The average person often seeks external confirmation. The high-status person relies more heavily on internal certainty. That difference becomes visible in subtle ways. For example, low-status behavior often revolves around proving intelligence, proving success, proving importance, proving influence. Every interaction becomes a performance, a demonstration, a request for acknowledgement. High-status behavior revolves around something entirely different: positioning. Instead of proving value, they assume value. Instead of demanding respect, they behave as though respect is already established. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means self-possession, a calm certainty that does not require constant reinforcement. Ironically, this often attracts more respect than overt displays of confidence ever could. Because people are highly sensitive to underlying motivations, they may not consciously identify them, but they feel them. They sense when someone is seeking approval, and they sense when someone is operating independently of it. The second person almost always appears more powerful, not because they possess more authority, but because they appear less controlled by the opinions of others. And freedom from external validation has always been associated with status. Yet there is another reason high-status people avoid chasing attention, a reason that goes beyond psychology, a reason rooted in power itself, because attention is not always an asset. In many situations, attention becomes a liability, and the people who truly understand influence know exactly when being seen helps them, and when being seen makes them vulnerable. The deeper reason high-status people avoid chasing attention is simple. Attention attracts observation. Observation attracts scrutiny, and scrutiny creates limitations. Most people never think about status this way because they view attention as an unquestionable advantage. The more people watching, the better. The more visibility, the more influence, the more recognition, the more power. But reality is often more complicated. The moment attention increases, expectations increase as well. Every decision becomes visible, every mistake becomes noticeable, every weakness becomes easier to exploit. This is why many powerful individuals carefully manage their visibility. They understand that influence and exposure are not the same thing. Exposure makes you easier to observe. Influence allows you to shape outcomes. And those two things do not always move together. Throughout history, some of the most effective leaders, strategists, and decision-makers operated from positions that attracted surprisingly little attention. Their names were not always the most famous. Their faces were not always the most recognizable, yet their influence reached far beyond what people realized. Why? Because power often functions most effectively when it is not constantly being challenged. The more attention a person attracts, the more resistance they tend to generate. Competitors become interested, critics become active, opponents become alert. Every move is analyzed, every statement is examined, every action becomes a target. The person who quietly influences outcomes avoids much of that resistance. They preserve freedom of movement, freedom to adapt, freedom to change direction, freedom to make decisions without public pressure. This creates a significant advantage. While everyone else is focused on maintaining visibility, they are focused on maintaining leverage. And leverage has always been more valuable than attention. This is one reason high-status individuals often appear surprisingly patient. They are not chasing every opportunity to be seen. They are selecting opportunities. Strategically, they understand that constant visibility can dilute impact. If someone speaks all the time, people eventually stop listening. If someone appears everywhere, their presence loses significance. Scarcity increases perceived value. Overexposure often reduces it. The same principle applies to communication. Notice how influential people frequently speak with restraint, not because they lack ideas, because they understand the power of selectivity. Every word carries weight when words are used carefully. Every appearance becomes more meaningful when appearances are limited. Meanwhile, individuals seeking attention often fall into a trap. They become dependent on visibility, dependent on recognition, dependent on audience reactions. Their confidence begins rising and falling according to public response. This creates vulnerability because the source of their self-worth exists outside themselves. High-status people tend to avoid this dependency. Their identity is not built upon constant feedback. They do not require continuous proof of their importance. As a result, they remain more stable under pressure, less reactive, less emotional, less influenced by temporary fluctuations in public opinion. And stability itself becomes a signal of status. People instinctively trust those who appear grounded, those who remain composed when others become desperate, those who stay focused when others become distracted. This composure creates influence because it communicates control. Not control over other people, control over oneself. And self-control has always been one of the strongest indicators of genuine status. The irony is that the people who spend the most energy trying to appear important often diminish their own influence, while those who are comfortable operating without constant attention frequently gain more of it over time. Not because they chased it, because they no longer needed it. High-status people do not win by attracting the most attention. They win by becoming less dependent on it. They understand that visibility can create opportunities, but it can also create distractions, scrutiny, and resistance. Instead of chasing attention, they focus on building leverage, competence, positioning, and self-control. And in the long run, those qualities tend to generate influence naturally, because real status is not measured by how many people are looking at you. It is measured by how little you need them to. Think about the most respected person you've ever met. Were they the loudest person in the room? Or were they the person who seemed completely comfortable without needing attention at all? Share your answer in the comments. Sometimes the clearest sign of status isn't who commands the spotlight. It's who remains powerful even when they step out of it.